Hey, everybody, it's Rick Seagraves of the Lake Town Podcast.
And I'm Matthew Willett. We've got Julie Starke here, and she has the keys to living light. She's a professional home organizing and home stager.
Hey, Julie, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for coming.
So, explain to us a little bit about what you do and maybe what your background is and what got you to the point of doing what you do.
Okay, well, that'll take me a minute.
We have time. We got nothing but time.
First of all, I'm from Annandale. I was born and raised here, and I married Ron Starke, who's a teacher. I think that's my claim to fame. He was a teacher and athletic director. What I do is I do home organizing. So I go into people's homes and help them with the editing or the decluttering process and the organizing process. Many of my clients call me and they feel like they just don't know where to start. They're overwhelmed, they're frustrated with their living situation, their spaces, things have gotten out of control for whatever reason. Or perhaps they just need to downsize. There's a lot of baby boomers now that are going into smaller homes or planning to go into smaller homes and want to downsize so that they are ready. We want to edit through some things rather than moving it all. So I do that, and I also do home staging, which is occupied home staging for people who want to stay in their homes or for people who want to sell their homes. It does help to edit, again, declutter a bit, and so that people can, when they come to see the home, they can actually see the space and not the stuff. We don't want to distract people when they're looking at a home with collections, and we want them to be able to move freely in the home so there's not things in the way. We want good traffic zones and things like that. So many times we actually remove furniture as well as things too. We want the storage to look plentiful, because if our closets and cabinets are plumb full, that doesn't look like they're going to have enough room for their things. So we want to edit that down a little bit, take some things out. I encourage the people that are the sellers to pre-pack. So for instance, now if I was going through and doing an occupied staging consult, I would encourage them to pack away their winter clothes. Although you might want to just wait a few minutes on that too.
Yeah, this year's been an odd one, so I would agree with that.
Yeah. So boots and clothing, boots and winter clothing can be pre-packed and edited through so that it does look like there's more room. So those are the two main services that I offer: the organizing and the staging. And this is actually my retirement job. I was a registered dietitian for 35 years. I worked 19 years at the VA hospital in St. Cloud. And I worked with the inpatients and outpatients there. And that was a really good experience, a good time in my life to work part-time, which is what I did then. My children were little. And then the last 16 years of my career, I worked as a retail dietitian. I worked in 3 grocery stores, actually my family's business. And then in that capacity, I taught classes, cooking classes, nutrition classes. I hosted cooking classes. I had chefs come in and teach, and it was just a lot of fun. I led a diabetes support group for those whole 16 years and met with individuals for diet counselings and things like that. But when that career was over, I took about a year to kind of figure out what I wanted to do. The grandchildren started coming. And now I have a total of 8. They came fast and furious. And I did want to make time for them. And we travel back and forth between Minnesota and North Carolina because our son and his family are in North Carolina. And so I wasn't ready to retire, but I didn't think I could find a job that somebody would hire me and say, well, by the way, I need to leave for 3 weeks and go to North Carolina. Could I have off? So starting my own business sounded like the best idea. And about that same time, I was downsizing and cleaning out my parents' home. My mother died in 2012. And then my dad died 6 years later. And that was a 3-stage process. First of all, after my mother died, we cleared out her items, of course. And then my dad was fine, and he started to fail, and we needed to get some help, in-home help. So I then got the house ready for another person to live in, got the bedrooms ready and everything. And so that was that part. And then after he passed, then of course we cleared it completely out and sold the home. And it was quite a process. I really got to knowing what that's like, to help to downsize and clear things out. And I really have always enjoyed organizing and helping people organize, especially more so I enjoy helping people than doing it myself, to be honest.
I think a lot of people could say that about their profession. They'd rather help somebody else do it than themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. It's nerve-wracking when you're making all those decisions, and it's very tiring. My clients will tell me, you don't have any idea how tiring this is. I just don't think I can do it, for 3 hours. So sometimes we just do it for 2 hours. But anyway, it is stressful and tiring, but I just enjoy the end result. And so that's really when I started thinking I would like to do this as a profession. So I took that year and did my training, and I got training in the organizing and in the staging, the home staging. And so that was in 2019 when I actually started my business.
So explain a little bit about the training. Like in my mind, I can't fathom there's training on how to organize or the processes. Is there a series of classes, or is it online, or how is that the training done?
Both. Okay. I belong to, there's I did a couple of different trainings, the National Association of Productivity and Organizing Professionals, NAPO.
I didn't know that was a thing.
That
I
is
was
a
just
thing.
going to say that.
Yeah. So I joined them, and they have a training program, which is online, and I did that. But first I did the training through the Institute of Professional Organizers. And that was extensive about building your own business and organizing down to the types of containers and what to do in different situations. It was just very, very complete. And honestly, as I listened to starting a business, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I really want to do this, because there was so much to that. That was what took me a while to get going through all of that. But that was my training for organizing, and then of course we have ongoing training in person and online. And then staging was also online, but I did go down to San Antonio last April, and I took a week of training at a place called the Staging Studio, and that was so valuable. It was wonderful. They have a whole showroom, so to speak, with all they have a staging business themselves where they bring in furniture, but they change up the vignettes, and then we actually work on them. So I do the occupied staging. I don't have my own furniture. I don't do vacant staging where I bring in furniture, but we did a segment on occupied staging, and they set up a bedroom, for instance, that had dirty Kleenexes on the side and medicine bottles, and the pictures were hung crooked, and they had the diplomas out, all the things that you don't want to do when you're trying to sell a home. So, and then we just got in there and did that, just did the staging.
Yeah, and with the unoccupied, like with a vacant house, with technology coming so far that most photography companies that are decent ones, they can actually virtually stage it.
Yeah.
And it'll look like there's a whole house full of furniture, but then when you get there, the house empty.
It's kind of a bait and switch.
Wow.
Well, and it's tough though, because I've never done it personally,
Yeah.
because every house I've sold for the most part has been occupied. There've been a couple of unoccupied ones, but like they can do as much or as little furniture as you want. So like they say that a house looks more homey if it has something in it.
Oh, yes.
So they'll just do like a simple dining set in the dining room, or like the bedroom, they'll just do like a singular bed, a nightstand, and a dresser, just make it look like something's in it. But if you didn't know, you would never know if they're good. Because you can't tell that it's virtual furniture sitting in the house, but it definitely is a thing.
It is a thing, yeah. For sure.
And they get paid pretty well for it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But so a couple of fun things that I heard you mention that I kind of want to touch on. You have probably the best delivery and approach to getting rid of stuff just by calling it an edit.
Yes.
I noticed that. So is that...
That's something that I think I'm going to start putting into my vocabulary. As we don't need to get rid of stuff, but we got to edit it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a softer approach, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people think organizers come in and just say, you got to get rid of this, you got to get, and of course that you can't do that. I mean, it's their stuff.
To an extent, you almost have to in some cases, though.
In
There's
some
no getting
case-
around it.
Well, yeah, but you need to let them think through it and work through it. And to be honest, so many times I've had people that's okay. I'm ready to get rid of this, but not this, not, and then they get to this thing, and then they sit and look at it for a while. They can't decide, and I'm like, you know what? Let's just think about that. Let's put that in the maybe pile, and we have a maybe pile, or just a think about it pile. And it is important to just let them go through that process. Then at the end of our session, we kind of look at that. Let's review these things. What are you thinking about this? And sometimes they still don't know. And then we just leave it in that pile, and most of the time I do numerous sessions with clients. It's usually one thing leads to another. So if they hire me, for instance, to declutter and organize their pantry, well, then all of a sudden their children's play spaces need it, or their closets and that sort of thing. So I do come back to clients pretty often, and so then we can readdress these things. And sometimes it just takes a while to think about it. You just have to process it. Mementos are the hardest. Memorabilia are the hardest. Pictures and things that people have collected on travels, or have. If something has been gifted to a person, there is so much guilt about giving that away. And and that's the thing, it's like, well, my mother gave me that. I never really liked it, but she gave it to me. And so I kind of explained to them, the gift is in the giving. Once you have the item, it's yours. You can do what you want with it. You don't have to, keep it. You can keep it. You can use it or not, but it's not something that you have to be so guilt-ridden, to get rid of that.
So that is something that I am extremely guilty of.
Mm-hmm.
So my kids give me Father's Day cards, and I get Valentine's Day cards
Yep.
from my wife. I have never thrown a single one of them away,
Mm-hmm.
nor will I. Irregardless of what stager or organizer tries to tell me I should. Those are just
Right.
not going to
Yeah.
happen.
See, that's just it. Nobody's going to tell you, and it's your stuff. Yeah.
But at the same time, my dresser looks like a bomb went off on top of it, because I don't really have anywhere kind of easy to put them, I guess, so to speak. So I'm as guilty as anybody as far as that is concerned. But
Yeah, well, there's two different styles of organize. Some people like to have stuff out, and to see it. And some people like to put things away. And the people that like things out, if you put it away, it's like it doesn't exist anymore and you forget about it. So for those people, we just have to figure out a way to organize it so you can see it, using containers that you can see through or whatever it might be. But because if you put it away, it's like it doesn't exist. You might as well throw it away. So, but then some people just like a clean slate, like everything put away, and you just have to figure out what kind of a person. And another thing is, some people just, again, just if you put it behind the cabinet, it's hard to remember. So there's one school of thought where you can actually take the doors off the cabinets. You've seen these open shelving options, and that's really helpful for some people who need to see it. But then some people say, oh, it looks so messy or whatever. But you just have to use containers. Containers are huge to help keep the things under control. And I do a lot of labeling so that everybody in the household knows that this is where whatever, the stamps go or the scissors go or whatever. And so they put them away there. So hopefully.
I would say I fall in between, where I don't need to necessarily see them. I just haven't done anything with them.
Yeah.
And I have probably, no joke, 10 years worth of cards on top of everything else sitting on my dresser. My wife is eventually going to watch this, and she's gonna say, yeah, you even know your dresser's a disaster. Why don't you do something about it?
My wife's going to hear this episode, and she's going to go, have you looked at your own garage?
Yeah.
As my garage is.
Yeah.
Ooh.
We won't even talk about my garage.
So your cards are on your dresser?
On it, behind it, beside
Okay.
it.
And I use
They're
the bottom
overflowing.
drawer of my I do the same thing. I keep all the cards and they always go. I write the year of it.
Yep.
And then I put it in the bottom drawer of my dresser, and they're all.
I don't even do that.
Yeah.
I don't even write the year.
So what you might want to
Should.
think about doing, Rick, is doing something like just have a system, have a little container or something that you put your cards in,
Yeah.
and gather them all up and put them in, and then maybe put them in a drawer or something, and then just add to
What
it.
if one of them is this big?
Well, then that one would have to go behind your dresser.
That one goes behind the dresser.
I got like the biggest Father's Day card ever. Like
Yeah.
it's sitting next to my dresser because even if I had somewhere to put everything, I'm like, I don't even know where I'd put this, but I'm not getting rid of it.
Yeah, we'll put it maybe behind or someplace, but or find a great place and put it on the wall or something.
Yeah.
Big chunk of wall.
Yeah.
So you do garages as well?
I do. Yeah.
Don't come in my garage.
Yeah, I know. That's what
I'm
my
in the
husband
process
says
of
too.
redoing my car right now.
Yeah.
I have a classic car I'm working on, and it's a good thing I didn't do what most people would say, which is to get rid of a lot of the packaging that stuff came in, because there was 2 fittings that is imperative to finish my transmission. That if it were in, like if I would have thrown the packaging away, it'd have been gone.
Yeah.
And you can't get them anywhere but this one spot. You have to buy this whole big kit to have these 2 little fittings.
Okay.
So when I couldn't find it, I called the manufacturer and we started going through what box it was in, what the packaging looked like, and I started rifling all over this just huge pile of boxes and packaging. Ended up finding it.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
and-
So
and
claim
it's-
to that's.
So I told
yeah.
He's
my
like,
wife,
see,
I
that's
said,
why we don't clean up the garage.
Yeah.
I told Lynn, I said, until my car is done, I'm not throwing any of the boxes, any of
Yeah.
the packaging. So we have a treadmill in our garage. And she
Yeah.
always gets upset because she goes out there to run every now and again when she doesn't want to run in the gym. And she has to literally like kick all the boxes off the treadmill
yeah,
just so
yeah.
she can run. I said, that's fine. I'm not getting rid of any of it until it's done.
So again, in a situation like that, you might want to find a different spot. So you want the treadmill accessible, but you can still keep your stuff, but
Yeah.
find a different spot for it.
It's usually, but when I say there's a lot of boxes, I'm saying
A lot of
there's a
boxes.
lot of boxes.
Yeah.
My kids would have a heyday building a fort with all these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. Well, having said that, I do garages. I do want to clarify that I don't install cabinets and that kind of thing, because that can be part of a garage
Yeah,
too.
for
And
sure.
I had a client not too long ago that wanted to do a garage. And so what we did together is we decluttered. We went through and decluttered the things and, kind of organized it, made spaces for different things.
Did some editing.
Did editing, but what she really wants is a system as far as cabinets and things. It's a newer home and they just never got all of that done. And some people like a real finished look. And so there is our NAPO, our National Organizers Group that I was referring to. I'm in the Minnesota chapter and we have business partners. And Garage Tech, for instance, is one of our business partners. And he came out and did a consultation and gave her an estimate on that. So I can work, and the same thing with closets. We have closet business partners. So I wouldn't go in and build a closet or a system for a closet, but I can refer you to people that will come in and do all of that. And then we can organize it from there.
Yeah, what I've done in the past, and a couple of friends have, as far as the garage, having cabinetry in the garage,
Mm-hmm.
is go on Facebook Marketplace and classifieds for Craigslist.
Yeah.
And you just find somebody who's doing a remodel, and you can usually pick up the cabinets like
Yeah.
super, super cheap.
Yeah.
Like a buddy of mine, his closet or his cabinet space in his garage is like his whole wall, and I think he paid like $200 for the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Facebook Marketplace is a great source for a lot of things, for sure. Yeah.
It's a wormhole, though.
Yeah.
Once you start looking at Facebook
I know.
Marketplace, all of a sudden I'm looking at pontoons. I'm not buying a pontoon, but why am I looking at them? Because I don't know. Why wouldn't I? Oh, that's a good deal. How do I know? Because I've been on Facebook Marketplace too much, and I know that's a good deal.
It is. It's yeah. Because I do source things for my clients as well, and sometimes you can find more so what they're looking for at Facebook Marketplace than you can maybe someplace else.
Yeah.
So
And so, how big of an area have you gone? Are you pretty much
too far.
too far?
Yeah. Well, I love my clients around the Annandale area because, of course, I don't have to drive so far. But I've gone as far as Detroit Lakes and Brainerd,
Ooh,
and
Detroit Lakes a
Gibbon.
haul.
Yeah, and Gibbon. Those are kind of my outlying areas.
Okay.
I do a lot in the Twin Cities, and all over in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You haven't started up your North Carolina branch yet?
I have.
Oh, you have?
I have.
Oh.
Yes. I thought, well, as long as we're there, because we do go back and forth to help take care of grandchildren there. And I thought, well, as long as I'm there, that the 4 grandchildren there go to school or preschool during the day. And if we have to pick them up, I still have time between 9 and 2, to do clients. So I do advertising in our neighborhood. We have a home there. And I do an article every week or every month. Thank goodness it's not every week, for our neighborhood magazine, and have picked up some clients in our neighborhood, and then also surrounding area, because Winston-Salem, it's a triad. It's Greensboro, Winston-Salem, and High Point, North Carolina. So those are the areas that I'm
So
going for.
retirement
Yes.
turned into quite the
Well,
You know, I was just gonna say that because, like, to me, a retirement job is a lot easier, a lot less involved.
yeah. Well,
But I know
you
that
would think
everybody's
so.
version or idea of what a retirement is.
But I've
is
also heard
completely
from
different.
most people when they retire, they go, "How did I have time for work? Because I'm so busy."
Yeah,
But
that's
it's
true.
you fill your time with
Yeah.
things you might enjoy a little more.
Well, I have found that when you own your own business, you're never done. There's always things to do. So
yeah.
days I don't have a client or evenings, there's always things to work on my website or social media. I do post every day on social media, Instagram and Facebook.
Speaking of those, it's a good point to bring up. What is your website and what is your social media?
It's my website is www.keys2livinglight, and light is LIGHT.com. And that's my Keys to Living Light is where you would find my Instagram and my Facebook, and I'm also on LinkedIn. I don't post there as often, but so that's what I do. Have personal accounts also, but those are my business accounts, and I don't post on my personal accounts nearly as hardly ever. I'm basically on there to see my grandchildren. So, but my business account I do post every day.
And so now, are you at the beginning? You said people who are going to stay in their home. Is that just like you're talking about just staging for? You said staging for living in their home. Is
Yeah.
that? Will you have people that come in and that they just want you to come in and tell them how should we organize our furniture?
Exactly.
And just so you'll do not just the decluttering, but you'll say, hey, we should arrange the house
Exactly.
a better way.
Right. And that's what I could term as redesign. So that's staging to live. So if they've had their home a certain way forever and they just want a new look, or they feel like it's just not functioning that well, it's really fun to come in and say, okay, well, let's talk about what is your focal point. And of course, the focal point a lot of times is unfortunately the TV.
The TV, yeah.
If it's the fireplace or if it's the outdoor, looking out on a lake or whatever it is. So we need to look at and conversation area. When you have company, are you able to keep do a conversation without craning your neck or whatever? Most people have too much stuff in their living spaces. The furniture has just kept coming and coming. Just little pieces here and there, little tables. You just can't believe how many little tables end up and lamps all over. And I did one lady's house, and she had a studio apartment, which she was struggling with because that's a 1-bedroom place. Mm-hmm. And she had 3 lamps in one little corner. And I said, okay, let's look at this. We don't need 3 lamps here. And we just need to figure this out. Where do we need the lighting? What kind of lighting is best? And maybe we could donate some of this.
To me, my least favorite thing in any sort of living room, and this is same thing at our house, is any little end tables. Yeah. Literally just turn into a catch-all.
Yes.
And ours are the same way. And I've told my wife many times, I said, we just get rid of these, please. Could we just make them go away? Yeah. And then here I am guilty putting stuff on them all the time too. But those are, they look great when you first put them in. Mm-hmm. But basically day 17 and beyond, they just have a bunch of stuff on them.
Well, the function of an end table, of course, is to put a beverage. If you're socializing, having a cup of coffee or a drink or whatever it might be, a glass of water, you need a place to set a beverage because it doesn't work very well to put it on the floor. But that does, any flat surface is prime real estate for stuff. And, my own island, I remember when my kids were home, we have the island in the kitchen, and it was like my life's work was to keep that island clear between the mail and the school stuff that kept coming home and everything. I remember years ago when we were debating on granite countertops, we were replacing our Formica with granite, and we're just, what should we get? And my son was little at the time. He said, Mom, it really doesn't matter what you get. Nobody's going to see it anyway. And
that's a punch to the stomach.
I'm like, okay, there's too much stuff here. So yeah, it's true though. Flat
And that's
surfaces.
that little comment sparked the fire of this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. But schoolwork just, it keeps coming, and artwork, and oh my.
We have a 2-year-old that's grabbing everything she can. So our end tables currently are nice and clean because otherwise you don't know where it's going to end up.
Yeah, no, that'll
only change.
time.
Eventually, she'll start putting everything on there, and you'll wish that she was taking it off instead.
Yeah, that's the only time in your life that you'll probably not have that problem. So good for you.
Yeah, we have a very large island at our house. It's 12 feet long.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where we have our conversation space. We have a big kitchen, dining room, and area there. But yeah, as you're mentioning the mail and the kids' homework, I'm literally seeing what I left of my house with is it was all sitting there.
Well, that's one of the number one things that people hire me for is the entryway, the landing landing spot. Where do people put stuff, and where does the mail go, so it doesn't end up there. Yeah.
And as I'm saying this, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, our viewers are going to think my house is an absolute disaster. My wife's going to shoot me.
And anybody who knows me has seen my garage and would agree.
Everybody's got their thing.
Everybody's got their thing.
Yep.
I would say the containers thing is definitely big. Like we, as Alice, our daughter, has grown every time she gets to the next stage, all the clothes my wife has put in a container. And it's one of our basement bedrooms, the closet is how the doors close. I don't know. She's got so many containers, and we get things from other friends but it's so nice because then she can, if someone's asking for something, she can just look in the container and go, oh, yep, I know exactly where it is.
Yep. And if they're labeled, with sizes,
And I mean, it's just having the clear containers, and the same thing with, all your Easter decorations and then the Christmas stuff. It's just, you go underneath the stairs and nope, there's the Christmas stuff. Yeah, it's definitely, and I feel like they've gotten so much better in the last 10 years with containers. Like, I feel like it always used to be just those big totes.
Yeah. And there's lots of different sizes. And the other thing that's really helpful with the totes is shelving, either on the wall or just freestanding shelving, so that you can actually pull out what you need rather than moving every tote off, to get to the bottom one. So that's huge in the garage, in storage, in closets.
I like to use the not using a shelf method, where you take the lowest one you need out. The next one up, you just push it up against the wall. You hold it with your knee, pull the bottom one out, and just let the rest of them fall down. That's worked pretty well for me so
Good
far.
for you. That's really what we want to avoid, right?
Yeah. And the closet stuff, it's amazing, nowadays. Like, Greg Pick had his company here for years, Commercial Closets. And I thought, when I first met him, I thought, all you do is closets? And then he started explaining it, and it's amazing that, you have all the shelving in your closet, and if it's shelved right and organized right, you can almost eliminate dressers.
That's really what the focus is on a lot of the newer homes and the remodeled closets, because you don't really need dressers. It all can fit, maybe a few things, but it can fit in the closets.
As long as the closet's big enough.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. So space is always a concern, but there's a lot of good closet companies that can really help with that. And the Container Store is one of my go-to places, and I do get a discount there.
They actually have a Container Store.
Yeah.
I was unaware of that.
Yes.
I just go to Menards.
Yes. Well, that Menards is a lot of good organizing products. By the way, the dollar store does too. It has a lot of good organizing products. Target has a line called Bright Room. They've expanded, looking at the frequency that people are buying these things. The Container Store is physically in by the Galleria, not in the Galleria, but by Southdale in Edina. So it's a little unhandy, but I can order online, and if I get a discount at a store, I do pass that along to my clients. So if I want to say, though, that I don't go in thinking we have to buy a lot of products, because most of the time as we declutter, we empty bins and things so that we can reuse. We try to use what they've got. I encourage people not to, when they want to organize, don't go out and buy a bunch of bins. First, declutter, figure out what you need, measure so you get the right ones, because the bins themselves turn into clutter if you just go out and buy a bunch of them and don't get the right ones. And so many people I find that buy the wrong things, whether it be clothing or bins or whatever it is. They don't take it back. They just leave it there, and there it sits.
And they're just adding to the clutter.
They're adding to the clutter. So that's what I would say. Don't go out and buy a bunch of things. Just figure out what you need first.
Yes. That's interesting. And so for staging for homes, that's been pretty well. The housing market's been just wild.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Are you doing that quite a bit? Or would you say the organizing?
I'm
more?
doing organizing more, but I'd like to get more into and this home staging is what I do is I go in and do a consultation to start with. It's about 1 or 2 hours where I go through and take a walk and talk with the homeowner and just give suggestions along the way and give them a written report after that. I take the notes. Sometimes stagers have the homeowners take the notes, but then I feel like they're not really listening to me. So I take the notes and then I give them a report, send them a report, and also send the realtor the same report. But what I'd like to do is give them the top 10 or the top 5 items because honestly, there's a lot of stuff and I feel like they just get overwhelmed as we're going. It's like, oh my gosh, where am I going to even start? So if I give them the top 10 or the top 5, what I would do first, like for instance, sweep your front step, replace the doormat, get the cobwebs. The first impression is so important. So that's always going to be on my top 10 list if it's needed. Or, planting some flowers in the summer, just giving it some pop of life, pulling out all the dead greens, now the evergreens, and, just stuff like that. So, and then after I do that, then if they want me to help do the staging, then that's the service that I offer too.
So it's kind of a multi.
Yeah, it's a multi-level,
Yeah.
but consultations, oftentimes people just want to do it themselves. However, I've had customers or clients that I've not even been home. I was opening the garage door and they called, could you just come and do it? It's overwhelming, especially older people. It's just too overwhelming.
Or in an instance where somebody's looking at moving and they have enough on their plate already.
Exactly.
They just don't want to deal with all the extra. They said if a few $100 or whatever it costs just to not have to do it.
Exactly.
And I'm the same way about certain things. There's just things that I just don't have any interest in doing. And I'm like, I don't really want to spend the money, but I don't want to do it more than I don't want to spend the money.
And that's true for organizing too. So many people say, well, you know what? I had a client call me the other day and she said she's so overwhelmed. She's got 3 young children. Her husband's a pilot, so she's a single parent all week. She's so overwhelmed. And she said, but my husband thinks I can do it. And I'm like, you could. I mean, everybody could do this themselves, but do you have time to do it or will you get to it? That kind of thing. It's like hiring a personal trainer. You can exercise on your own, but without somebody guiding you and leading you, you probably aren't going to get the best result.
Or be overwhelmed.
Yes.
And I think part of that too is the lack of accountability when you're trying to do it on your own versus having somebody there helping you along the way and showing you how to do it the right way, whether it's the staging or the personal training, whatever the case may be.
Yes. And I had one client said that we were about maybe an hour and a half into our session, and she said, if you weren't here, I'd be done. Right? She was sick of it. And I'm like, I know, but you're just going to take a break, have a drink of water, have something to eat, and we're going to keep going. Yeah. So, yeah. It's
interesting. Yeah. There's a whole lot. I think everybody, it doesn't take long for all of a sudden your house to, very quickly, all of a sudden, it's the little things. Well, you think of all the things that you're out shopping, you're at Target or you're somewhere and, oh yeah, I like this. Well, a lot of times you don't think about, well, what is this replacing?
Yes.
And what happens to the item that it's replacing? Yeah.
More often than not, it doesn't get replaced.
Exactly.
And just, it's the little things. It's the one item here and then the one item there. And then all of a sudden, when you start to really look around or you try to clean up, you go, whoa, we got a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And I think it's just happens so quickly.
The accumulation goes from nothing to something in a hurry. And then
very
you have,
quickly.
Some people that I've worked with, they're in their house for 20, 30, 40 years. And, we'll start walking through and I'll do similarly to you, like, maybe do a little this, maybe remove some of that type of thing. And the best comments ever is like, I forgot I had it, haven't touched it in 15 years. I'm like, probably couldn't edit that one out then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Edit that one.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly right. And to your point, there's a one in, one out principle that is a good idea. But, if you have a pile of sweaters and you find a new one you like, which one's going to go? One in, one out. And that's something to keep in mind. But I encourage my clients or everybody really, when you're going to buy something, you're at Target, everything looks good, or you're at wherever you are.
Always looks good in the store.
It always does. And think about where is it going to go? And like you said, or what is it going to replace? Because if it doesn't have a home, it's just going to, like you said, 15 years later, they're going to say, I forgot I had this.
So I'm not sure if it's the same at your guys' house as it is mine. But when my wife buys something, my space in my closet just continues to move over and shrink and move over and shrink and move over and shrink. That's our strategy at home.
Yeah.
And it's a tough one to get past.
But and this is the perfect time to look at your clothes, because now you just got through winter.
What didn't you wear?
What didn't you wear? And what are you likely not to wear? Because you have it in your memory. So now would be the great time to go through your winter clothes, your jackets, your boots, your hat, all of it, and just decide what can you donate. And that's the one thing I also do for my clients is I take donations with me if they want me to. And I ask them where they want me to donate, or else I just, if they don't have a special place, I will take it to where I want to take it to. And I do use the free store here a lot. I'm in the free store. Those ladies know me pretty well, but it's a wonderful source.
It is a great place.
It is a great place, and it's always busy. And of course, Goodwill, the thrift shop mentality, it's getting to be more and more mainstream. People are shopping thrift, not only for the economics of it, but for being green. Instead of buying new all the time, you probably can get what you need that's been used. So that's another thing that I really encourage you to look at that piece of clothing or that coat and say, you know what, I haven't worn this in 3 years. Somebody else could use it. And it's easier to give it up then when you have that thought process.
That's one of the things that we are decent at. Like, we're at a point in our lives where we're not having any more kids. So finally, when kids outgrow stuff, we can get rid of it. And like with our son with his toys, right?
Yeah.
He'll have something that's sitting there for a while. And we've finally gotten it through to him that it's not a bad thing to donate it, because we basically explained it to him. I said, you don't play with it. Let's donate it so somebody else can enjoy it and put use to it. Yeah. And most of the time, he's pretty okay with it. Every once in a while, he's just kind of not going to happen.
Yeah, he's not ready.
No. But then we'll circle back to it 6 months later, and eventually we get to get that tree chopped down.
It is a really good thing to teach your children, that somebody else can use this. Some children don't have these kind of toys, or don't get toys as often as you maybe do, or don't have clothing that they need. They can use this. It's a good lesson for all of us.
Yeah, the clothes have never been an issue, because it doesn't fit you anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. Let's let somebody else have it, because you can't squeeze into it if you tried.
Yeah, that's true.
The toys, though, the toys is always a fun topic of conversation.
Yeah, they have to be ready.
Well, I think it's been a lot of fun, learning about all the stuff. I mean, it's you hear about it and you kind of think, oh yeah, I kind of know what she does, but then when you really break it down, there's a lot of stuff to it. Mm-hmm.
I was surprised to hear all the different organizations that I didn't know
that's amazing.
existed. And shouldn't have been surprised, because I think there's an organization for everything. But I think that's one of those things that I've never heard of, never had mentioned around or anything. So that was cool to learn that there's people out there that are trying to improve the organization of everybody's everyday life.
And I'll tell you, I'm the director of membership for NAPO, Minnesota. And so I'm kind of constantly recruiting new members. And I cannot believe the number of young women and men that are going into this profession. And they're leaving. I had one member is a police officer in a city and just getting burned out. And she's become an organizer. And for most of us at this point, it's a second career. There's not many that come out of college or high school and decide they want to be an organizer, but most everyone, it's their second career, which adds to the richness. We all have life experiences from other things. And so it's a growing profession for sure.
So you said your position with the organization Minnesota is what?
Director of membership.
And you're retired.
Yeah. We keep coming back to that, don't we? Well, I'll tell you why.
Well, it just shows that, you've got a passion for it.
Well, the other thing is I've never been I work by myself. I don't have a team. And of course I work with my clients, but I've never been in a position where I've been alone, so to speak. As a dietitian, there was a bunch of us, and it's good for me to network with other organizers. Yeah,
no, for sure. And the other part too is, that was just kind of just a funny joke, because, when what I envision retirement is, and I tell my wife this all the time, we're going to be somewhere warm. I'm going to be on a beach somewhere, and I'm going to have a drink in my hand. I'm probably going to get bored in a month, and then we'll have to find something else to do. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that you as a semi-retired, retiree, whatever you want to call it, and I witnessed this too. If you don't do something, your mind goes, and as soon as your mind goes, everything else follows.
Amen.
And my uncle who just moved here from California, he's witnessing that now, that he's just bored out of his mind. So he's working on getting himself a job. And Lynn's grandpa, he's 84-ish, give or take. I don't remember for sure. Same thing. He does something just to get himself out of the house.
Yeah.
Because we all know that if he doesn't, or when you get to a certain age, you don't, your mind tends to go, and then everything follows pretty quickly. So it's commendable to see that you're not just doing it to keep occupied, but you're doing it because of the passion and because you enjoy, what you're able to bring to the table. So that's really cool to see.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's neat that you're able to, get with clients and you can kind of emotionally help them through the process. That
it's very rewarding. It's very rewarding. I see them lighten up as we work physically. They just feel so much better. Yeah. And I love that.
It's got to be very rewarding. And at the end, when they're happy and everybody's happy, and
yep,
and that's
right.
And then it's the next part of their life.
That's right. That's right. So it's been fun to be here and tell you all about it, because I just enjoy it. It's my passion now, and it keeps me going, keeps my mind going. There's a lot of technology things I've learned. I had never done a PowerPoint presentation before, and now I've done a few of them, and it's just you just have to accomplish it.
Well, and every part of it too. So like the social media piece, the having a website piece, the organization. I'm sure you have calendar on your phone that you've mastered, and things along those lines that like I come across like many people, they have zero interest in it. They'll never learn it. They don't care. They've always been I'm going to go in and do my job. It's physical, it's manual, whatever the case may be. And that's just what they're used to. And they don't want to learn new things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how was training Ron at home?
Oh, he's organized.
Okay.
He's if you ever
So it wasn't Ron, we got to get this under control.
No, he's organized. He was Mr. The Post-it guy. He always had Post-its in his office to keep him organized. So that was his method.
Yeah. I'm definitely the Post-its guy.
I have Post-its also, but it's not to stay memorized. It's just to remember what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what his was too. Yeah.
Get my list. It's actually on my desk. I have one of the things that I need to get accomplished today, and they're usually not even close to an order. They're just there to check off the boxes.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. And it feels good to check off the boxes. Sometimes we write things down just so we can check them off.
Yeah, it is fun when you get to peel that one. And, all right,
got that one done. Yeah.
I got everything in my phone too, but I still sometimes just have to write it down.
Yeah, so many people do that. Yeah, just even if they just did it, they write it down so they can check it off. It's just satisfying.
Yep, for sure. So when you do, let's say, for example, if I were to have you come over, because we have a pretty unique living room. We have an older home that have been added onto a couple of times. So we have this elongated living room it's pretty big size. And I used to be in the furniture business years and years ago when I would deliver furniture. I usually walk into a house and say, okay, the couch needs to go there because the TV is going to be here, put a chair and maybe a sofa table here. My house is an anomaly. I go through my house, I'm like, I don't know the best way of. What would be the time frame of what you'd expect to spend with somebody doing something simple as that? Or I don't want to say simple, but something is like not full blown.
Let's help the flow.
Yeah, help the flow. That wouldn't take real long. Maybe a couple of hours, And I will mention that when I do a consult, I have a client that wants to do some work. I have an initial consultation that's complimentary. So I come and look at the space, whether it's organizing or staging or whatever, look it over, and I take photos for myself for implementation, so I can kind of get things thought through. And so I would do that, and then I would say within an hour or two, something like that.
Just a curiosity. So if somebody wants to reach out to you and they have something not full blown, that it's going to be, relatively quick and I would say fairly painless, I would think.
Yeah, that's fairly painless. And I'm able to do a complete pantry in 3 to 4 hours, usually. It just depends, but that's you can get a fair amount done in a chunk of time if you just get right to it.
Yeah.
If the person is editing things as we go, then that sometimes takes a little longer.
I feel like it'd be tough to edit out of the pantry because there's usually some pretty good stuff in there.
Yeah. You don't, and most of the time they've already done that, when I come, or, and then there's the whole expiration date. If they want me to look for the expiration dates, that takes a lot longer because sometimes they're hard to find.
Or really hard to read because they've been there so long.
Yeah, exactly. So that whole piece, But.
So Julie, we had kind of an interesting meeting, we'll say. I know Ron. I went to school in Annandale. I graduated from Annandale, but I have actually never met you. And we were at a chamber meeting. And at the chamber meeting, I had mentioned the podcast. And if anybody was interested in being on it to reach out to me, just like I do on our show. If anybody has anybody that wants to be on it or if they want to be on it, they just have to reach out. And you approached me, and it was refreshing to know not only that you wanted to be on it, but you have actually listened to some of the episodes. And I think you're the first one who's listened to an episode before being on the show.
Oh yeah, I did, and I was happy to hear that you did this podcast, this Lake Town podcast, and I was excited to be. And it's hard for people to hire you if they don't know about you.
Yeah, very true.
You know, and so I just trying to get my visibility up, especially in this area. And I was excited to hear about this podcast. And really, you guys do a good job. I did listen to several of them, and
Thank you.
and it's really nice to really focus in on our local people and what we have to offer. I mean, I learned on every one that I listened to. So it was really good.
Yeah, and it's good too to also learn that you listen to them only. You have not seen it on
Right.
Facebook or on Instagram.
She was surprised by the cameras today.
I did not know.
She did not know she was going to be on
Yeah.
camera today, but
Yeah.
but that you had listened to it on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, yes.
So I try to get it out there everywhere I can. So it's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. I think there's like 7 or 8 of them that it goes out to. I can't remember them all because there are just too many.
Yes, yes. Well, that's great because that's really going to increase your listeners for sure.
Yeah, but I know we're on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. It's just Lake Town Podcast, and same
Yeah.
thing with our Facebook page. It's Lake Town Podcast, which I've been having some issues with still because of, I don't know, they thought it was a pirate, somebody trying to pirate my account or steal my account because I logged in when we were on vacation in Mexico, and I got completely locked up for about 2 weeks.
Well,
And-
lesson learned. Huh?
Oh,
We're getting
apparently.
there.
Yeah.
We're slowly getting there. But,
Yeah. Oh, you do a good job. You
Well,
both
thank
do.
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for enlightening us on organizing the houses and staging. There's a lot to the business there that you're doing, so it's pretty cool.
And for expanding our vocabulary a little bit.
We've learned
with,
edit.
Yep,
Yes,
yeah,
edit,
That's
right.
a term that it will forever be in my vocabulary.
I like
Perfect.
it.
Yeah, you probably
Softens
need
the
to use
blow.
that quite a bit as a realtor. Yes.
Little
Yes.
bit.
Yeah, or pre-pack. Don't forget that one.
That one I do use.
You do,
Yeah,
okay.
if it's something that they know they're not going to need in the next couple, 2-3 months, probably a good idea to, even if you pack it and just get it in the garage out of the main area, because people are going to understand when they see boxes in the garage, you actually do intend on moving. But with that being said, though, thank you for coming. And if you or anybody else wants to be on our show, we would be more than happy to have you. Just reach out. It's laketownpodcast@gmail.com, or reach out on any social media platform that you see us on. So thank you again. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank
too.
you.
Bye now.